Hello, everyone. I'm Chastity Gunn, and I'm so glad to be a part of this reading, even if it's just via recording. I am honored to be here. I count it as a privilege to share with you some poems about Frederick Douglass, and I want to say thank you to Donna for the invitation to be here. Thank you to Riley for handling the recording. Thank you to the fellow writers who are sharing their beautiful work. Thank you, listeners, for joining in to Poetry in the Midst of a Pandemic. I'm reminded of the power of poetry and the necessity for us to write poems even in hard times. So I hope that these poems bring a bit of joy, an opportunity for you to ponder. So, the first three poems that I'm going to share with you are found poems. I reread portions of the narrative of Frederick Douglass, and I have three poems that I have written from that text. All right, the first one is titled, As a Child, Frederick Douglass witnesses Aunt Esther being beat by her enslaver for disobeying his orders. Told her to cross her hands, but she wasn't praying nor pleading. Stripped, neck to waist, shoulders, back, exposed, bare, uncovered nakedness. Called names not her own. Led to a stool, under a joist and a hook, hands tied in strong rope. Hung from the hook, arms stretched full length, toes on stool's edge. Called names, not her own. She was being taught a lesson to obey, always, to remain silent, always, to stay in her place, always. Heavy cow skin lashed against her brazen back, shrieks and oaths uttered, their sounds blending like a musical scale, climbing upward to the dominant note. Warm red blood drips to the floor, almost like raindrops, except it's not as easy to wipe away. Shrieks and oaths and shrieks are uttered, blending, crouching, hiding in a closet, praying he would not be next. Okay. The second poem is titled The Penalty of Telling the Truth. Chill the blood, stiffen the hair, make her scream, whip her to hush. A witness and a participant. I remember the first time. Large hickory stick, heavy cowskin, red blood dripping to the floor. I shall never forget it. Stripped, naked, tied, stretched. The slave must never answer a word. I neither saw nor heard deliverance from chains. I have two masters, a witness and a participant, a cruel man, hardened, bloody American. This last poem doesn't have a title, but for now, I'll just call it a litany. Naughty questions exposed my stripes, obeyed the summons, witness stand, free, yet oppressed, Negro problem. A good man or a bad man, a witness and an advocate, voice and pen, labor and service, scattered fragments, merciful providence. My meat and my drink, all the care and anxieties, difficulties, real and imagined, rises or falls, truth is patient. Small contribution, my work is done. Right? So the next three poems I want to read to you are from a collection of poems that I've written about lynching. So I've done quite a bit of research. I like to write about historical events. And so these poems are from that project. The first one is titled, Grandmother Tells the Family History. Grandmother told me about men carrying the light of the world at night for all to see. Rosalind, grandmother told me about men, 10 gentlemen, American, riding to the bottoms, bricks hurled. Grandmother told me about men carrying the light of the world. Grandmother told me about men who spread light by flame, proclaim good news to men beseeched by name. When grandmother told me about men, 10 gentlemen, American, disembodied angels in hoods, grandmother told me about men who spread light by flame, proclaim good. Grandmother told me about men, deaf angels passing over tracks to get to shanties and shacks, sin. Grandmother told me about men, crosses tied to backs, forbidden fruit, knowledge, good and evil blacks. Grandmother told me about men, death angels passing over tracks. The second poem is called The Lamenting Rope. I would have preferred to be a fence, wooden fortitude driven down into a small damp hole of dirt, a dividing line between the domestic and the wild, but a fence I am not. Standing tall I do not, limp on the ground I am. I hate how men come and grab me in the night, their fussy fingers tighten, squeeze, almost choking my fibers. I am strong, but in their hands I fear breaking. I fear being broken, though I never am. I am spun and coiled into a tangled, knotted mess, except for a loop big enough for a man's bobbing head to enter. And I hold him steady. All right, and my final poem is titled, In 2018, a Black woman looks at a photograph and ponders about childhood. Little girl, so sweet, so precious. Knobby knees, brazen, lanky arms, summer dress pressed, your dark-colored bob neatly combed, a small section pinned back with a bow to prevent loose strands from falling in your face. Little girl, pretty little girl. Girl, how did you get here? Stepping in all of this death, a vile sight that can't be wiped away with your mother's hand-sewn cloth napkins. Little girl, does your mother know that you are not in your room combing your baby doll's hair, changing her diaper, getting ready for tea time with Sir Giraffe and Brother Bear? Shouldn't you be down at the creek with your brother? Tell me, who brought you here? Tell me who wanted you to see this. Tell me, precious little girl. Your mother wouldn't want you seeing all of this. Flower plucked and drooping in front of you, my dear little girl. You look into that man's eyes, gouged, like you've seen this before. Like you will behold it again and marvel at the sight. The stench of precious blood doesn't bother you, doesn't turn your stomach. It doesn't even wash away the smirk on your face. Oh, precious little girl. Here in the future, I fear for the dirt that can't be washed away, the sights that can't be unseen. Thank you.